Well, there was a interesting match in Newcastle, and so we had to invite our good friend Joel on the podcast to talk about all things Newcastle. This is Red Card Radio. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whenever you're listening from. Thanks for tuning in. Red Card Radio is a weekly podcast that looks at the Premier League from this week's to be four friends who support different clubs. My name is James. I support Arsenal. With me tonight on the top row is Brad. He's that way, actually. He supports Chelsea. Down below is Sean, as normal. And joining him on the bottom row is Joel this week. Joel, hello. How are you doing, sir?
Good evening, all. I'm all right, thank you. Doing all right.
Looking forward to the Champions League this week, midweek?
Yeah, I am. It's not too often I get to watch my team in the Champions League. So, yeah, excited. Hopefully a better result than the weekend.
Hey, speaking of which,
we'll get into that.
If you're watching this right when it posts, that means you are should be tuning into some Champions League football when you review, comment, and subscribe on the video while you're watching. But hit our button first.
Yeah. Don't watch the Champions League without subscribing to this podcast first.
Yeah.
Big shout out to you who put us over the limit. We officially hit 100 subscribers on YouTube. Technically, we're at 101 right now. But I also have no idea how to use YouTube, so I can't really tell who the person was that was the 100th subscriber. But whoever you are, human, we love you and we appreciate you. Thank you so much for clicking the button. And as Sean said 2 weeks ago, we're straight to the moon at this point, right? We got 3 digits.
We are literally famous right now.
Yes, 100 people have hit the subscribe.
And so are you, Joel. Congratulations.
101 people, yeah.
You are now famous.
Look at us go. But you too could get involved if you hit that subscribe button, or if you're on the podcast site, hit the follow, download the podcast, whatever it is that your site so allows. Really does help us out tremendously. So what's on docket for tonight? We've got round 6 of the Premier League. It was, by all accounts, for anyone who supports teams in North London that wear red, basically a perfect weekend. Like,
what?
Basically. Liverpool lost, Chelsea lost, Spurs drew, right? Didn't lose. But it's funny because I did ask you that Robin Hood comment last week, and you guys almost did it. You almost did it. And Arsenal won away at Newcastle, St. James's Park. So I sent this message to the four of us, our chat beforehand, about how Arsenal just don't win at St. James's Park. And Joel, you scoffed at that. But I think
because it's just factually not true.
Well, 4 out of the last 5 times Arsenal played at St. James's Park, we lost. And the time that we did
more recently, there's been less success, but historically,
sure. Yes, I will definitely admit that historically Arsenal have a good record, but I would wonder what Arsenal's record was away at Man City ownership change and post ownership change. And I think that would be a better way to look at Newcastle now, post the sale to the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia and pre that. So Arsenal win the game 2-1, a 96th minute winner from Gabriel on a corner. Technically, I think we scored 2 set piece goals just to rile everyone up. The first one, was a short corner routine, but I think, or was it an open play? I can't really remember. It was a cross that Mikel Merino, former Newcastle player, just dinked backwards and kind of kissed off the inside of the post. Nick Pope looked so dejected. Dejected.
Also, individually more talented than Steven Gerrard. I think it's well documented.
Okay. You're referring to the reason...
He didn't slip.
Okay.
I see that it was a troll post. It was funny.
Just verifying. I think I want to start off by just saying how annoyed I am at Joel Linton when the very first thing he does a minute and a half into the game is just kick Saka. Like, the very first thing he does is kick Saka and doesn't get a yellow card for it when it's very clear what he's doing in this moment. That to me is exceedingly frustrating as an Arsenal player, watching Bruno Guimaraes elbow Jorginho a year ago, seeing the history, I think, in this fixture annoys me. And I think you'll point out maybe like Kai Havertz fouling whoever it was last year, Joel. But I think that the referees need to be more aware of this coming into this fixture. I think that Saka was fouled 2 or 3 times early in the first half, and there was just the referee just didn't care.
I would say, did you see Gabriel elbow Voltamata?
The punch.
I saw it after.
Punch.
I saw it after the fact. I still haven't seen a good video of it. And I think that you would rightfully be frustrated about that. But I also think that you can't necessarily be frustrated about that if you're not also ready to admit that Bruno did essentially the same thing a year ago and got away with it. So
he got away.
I'll help you out, Joel. James, grow up. Grown men play this game, and this is a physical game.
Okay,
and if you're not up to the challenge, then that's okay. Take your little kids and go play little kid games. This is grown men over here. There's grown men in North England.
I'd like to point out that was the mentality 15 years ago in England.
Yeah, and we're bringing it back. We're bringing it back, buddy.
And ask Alfie Haaland how he's doing. Ask Eduardo da Silva how he's doing. Ask Aaron Ramsey how he did when people horrifically broke these people's legs or like I think I don't.
We're being physical. We're not trying to injure people.
No, you're
Sean out here talking like you got a cup or something.
You're justifying dirty plays because it's not against your players. There was a systemic system in the mid-aughts to just kick Arsenal because you couldn't play against them. It was just kick Arsenal, and Arsenal players have historically over the last 25 years just been kicked because you can't play with them. And that's not just like a grow up moment. That's not just like play harder, deal with it. English football is hard. It's just dirty. And so I readily admit and will agree with Joel in the sense that if I'm going to complain about this, I also have to admit that Gabriel punched Voltamalda, who it definitely sounds like every time the announcer says his name is Old Tomato. It sounds like he's saying Old Tomato. So yeah, like that's not acceptable, and he should have been probably been sent off for that. And so like that's not acceptable. And so like I think that the refs, as much as I don't like the idea of understand or like prejudging things because of history, like this is a ridiculously feisty fixture for some reason.
Yeah, I think that a couple of things. I don't think that this is the main talking point from the game.
Certainly not. I agree.
There are bigger things coming from the game, but it probably stemmed from honestly the two years ago with the one when Newcastle won 1-0, the Gordon goal. Like there was like a triple VAR whammy, and I think it's really from that. Where the ball did or didn't go out of play, where did Joel Linton push the defender, like the offside, that goal. And I think since then it's been really intense. But I think Bruno should have seen red in the one you're referring to, the elbow on Jorginho. I think had Voltamata milked it, gone down, clutched his face, crying about it, could have probably got Gabriel sent off.
Yeah.
He didn't even react. He just approached the ref like, well, Gabriella, what you doing? But I think the game was overshadowed by 2 penalty decisions.
Sure, yeah.
Or lack thereof, rather. I think, yeah, they're the highlights.
Before we move there, I want to have one last point before we move to the penalties, because that is important. Your response of, oh no, it's not just grow up, it's tinfoil helmet. We have been personally offended and accosted for 20 years. We have been hunted down as Arsenal players for 20 years. That is completely ridiculous and off the wall.
You clearly
Like you can't play with Arsenal, so you got to kick them. Even when you were finishing 7th year on end, we still got to kick them. We can't play with them. Who's gonna finish in the conference league?
You clearly weren't paying attention to English football in the mid-aughts.
I was. Yes, I was. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's different. I'm talking about. Okay. What I'm saying is that's different. That was back then. It was physical back then, and you guys were really good. So, okay, that probably was a strategy. I'm not challenging you on that. But you just said since then, that has been the strategy. Like, okay, buddy, like you had some rough stretch there, and like that. Okay, you can't say it was. So if that may have been the strategy then, and it may be the strategy now, but you haven't been personally accosted for 20 years because you're Arsenal. That's just ridiculous.
I think Eduardo da Silva had his leg broken.
I just couldn't let that slide.
In 2008 or 2009. And then Aaron Ramsey was soon thereafter, if not before. I can't really remember. I think Aaron Ramsey was after that.
Oh, that was Liverpool that did that?
Stoke.
It was Stoke. Oh, okay. That's your hate for Stoke.
Well, I mean, they literally would boo him every time he came back to play there. So, like, they're just like awful human beings. And so, yeah, I mean, like, if this is the history that I'm used to, and it went away for 10 years, and now it's coming back, I'm just like, I thought we as a society agreed that this is not what we found acceptable in football. But we should talk about the penalties. I'm curious to know what you think, Joel, or maybe we'll just survey everyone. Do you think that the first one was a penalty, was not a penalty? Did VAR get it right? Like, what's your opinion on that, Joel?
I was telling Brad this. I think that the VAR probably shouldn't have intervened because it clearly wasn't an obvious error from the ref giving the penalty. However, the moment you welcome VAR to come and have a look, then you get the slow-mo of Nick Pope touching the ball first, and then contact between him and Gyökeres, however you pronounce his name.
I say it differently every time too, so you're fine.
Like as soon as you start looking at the slow-mo and then you see Pope gets the ball, then the man, I think you welcome the opportunity for the referee to actually I may have got this wrong, but I personally don't think it was the type of challenge where VAR even needed to look. I think ref gave a penalty. Fair enough.
So you don't think?
So I was surprised when it was overturned.
You don't think that there was a clear and obvious error that the referee made? Okay.
How can you? I mean, unless you slow it down.
Yeah.
Sean, what do you think?
I think Brad would agree that getting the ball first doesn't matter, right? I think that's a precedent set. Would you agree, Brad?
So, what you're talking about is a defender, not a goalie. As a goalie, ball does matter, sir. As a defender, if you kick twice no and somebody you're going off the field.
But the ball was kicked first. We're not going to argue a 3-year-old argument, but the precedent was set that getting the ball first doesn't matter.
But
if you just crash into the other player.
As a goalie, it is different, and that's why
why
I would. What do you mean? As a goalie, if you're going in for the challenge and you get the ball first, then you
the goalie could just recklessly go directly into someone's planted knee, but get the ball first. And
that's the precedent. I agree with Joel that VAR should not have intervened, and that this wasn't a clear and obvious thing until you slowed it down. But the precedent is goalie get ball, goalie no foul.
Yeah, I agree, Brad.
It kind of washes out because the other one goes the other way, but both should have been a penalty for sure.
So I agree with you in a lot of parts, Joel, that I don't think that there was a clear and obvious error. I don't think that the VAR needed to intervene. Now, we in America, we watch the NBC broadcast, and the entire time during the VAR check, the color commentary, I think it was John Champion, is the color commentary with Graham Lasso. He was saying that, we can hear the VAR audio. We can't hear the referee, but we can hear the VAR speaking to the referee in our production booth. And I think that all the broadcasters can. But anyway, specifically for NBC, He said, we can hear what the VAR is saying to the ref. And he's essentially walking the referee through why he needs to overturn it. And so to me, that seems just completely out of bounds. I think that if the VAR has to coach the referee into a decision, then there's a problem there. From a systemic standpoint, I think VAR should just say, hey, we think you should go take a look at this. We're going to show you this play again, and you make the final decision. I think that's the way it should be. It clearly is not. It's clearly that's not how it's done. But I also would like to contrast this whole situation with 8 months ago, Brighton versus Arsenal. The William Saliba head clash penalty, where I think it was Pedro heads the ball. It goes off of Saliba's head, and then their heads go together. So Saliba got the ball first, and then their heads go together, and Brighton still got a penalty. So if we apply the same logic to this situation, Nick Pope got the ball first. Gyökeres kicks the ball. Nick Pope then deflects it, and then they come together, and we don't get the penalty. So to me, it seems like logically that doesn't make sense. Now, I see you're making the argument, Brad, that it's different for goalkeepers. Now, the referee watch thing that Howard Webb does with Michael Owen is either out now or is about to drop, and some of the audio has started to get online. And apparently Howard Webb argued in this situation that because Nick Pope played the ball before the man, it's not a penalty. But I would argue that it wasn't an intentional play on the ball, that Nick Pope stuck his foot out, planted it, and in that process, the ball hits off of his foot. The Gyökeres kicks the ball into his foot. So I would argue it wasn't an intentional play on the ball against Howard Webb's specific argument here, and is much like the fact that when they were justifying the Brighton penalty against Arsenal, that since William Saliba didn't make an intentional play on the ball, that's why his touch on the ball doesn't count. Because Pedro played the ball off of Saliba, and then their heads clashed, that's why it's a penalty. I would argue that Gyökeres played the ball off Nick Pope, and then they clashed, and therefore it should have still been a penalty. So I think from my standpoint, all of VAR's arguments and all of Howard Webb's explanations don't hold any water. And from a baseline standpoint, it wasn't a clear and obvious error, and therefore VAR shouldn't have intervened.
You know what would make this really awesome?
What?
If we got the audio live. Let us hear the refs talking and making a decision on the game. Like if it's going to VAR, let us hear what they're talking about.
Or just release.
Why not?
Release all the audio now. I mean,
correct. Why not after the game? Have the if it's not during the game because you want to keep the game, that 2.5 hour window. Cool. All the audio should be released after the game for all of the key decisions.
Agreed.
That's that. It makes everything clear. And why the decision was made, whether we agree or disagree, there is is all transparency, and that's all we've been asking for is transparency and fairness.
The next,
I think I would
go for it, Joel.
Just last point.
Yeah.
I think that I was very surprised when I was watching it live and it went to VAR. I was like, "How is this? Like, was he offside? Like, It has to be an offside thing because Pope clatters him." And I just think VAR overreaches, as it has done for years, and as it will continue to do. It overreaches in the referee's decisions, and I think that's where it goes wrong. It's always inconsistent. It's always going to be inconsistent. It's always going to be frustrating.
That's the problem, is the inconsistency.
Yeah, and I think that there's going to be a very similar situation later in the season where there's a goalie and a player clash, goalie gets the ball, and it will be given as a penalty.
Yep.
Because it's all subjective.
100%.
I think these sort of things need to be matter of fact, but it's so hard to make it matter of fact. So I think it was. If I was an Arsenal fan, I'd be fuming that it wasn't given. Ultimately, it doesn't matter because you won the game. But yeah,
I think the next point, though, if we turn this back, I think you should be upset about the next penalty decision because Gabriel slides to go to ground and his arm is up in the air and the ball hits his arm, and it's not given as a penalty, not even checked on the field. What was your thought process when you were watching that, Joel?
I think it's honestly one of the worst VAR penalty decisions not given as a penalty. I don't understand the logic behind the fact it's taken a deflection off the defender like that should make a difference between him stopping the ball with his arm. Like he stopped the ball with his arm. Like obvious, it wasn't a deflection even. It was smacked his arm, stopped motion. Like
So it was, the one thing I will say, I'll say, is that it wasn't a deliberate handball. I don't know. I don't think that really matters. I don't think that really matters. But he didn't deliberately like play the ball. He died. He goes to the ground and his arm is in the air, which seems like it could
makes himself
potentially.
bigger.
It's certainly unnaturally big. Unnaturally big.
Yeah, that's the wording of it, right? It's an unnatural position, which I think there is a little grace given when you go to slide that your arm will be slightly slightly ajar from your body.
Yes.
But straight out
Yeah.
is not a natural sliding position.
Now there is a second consideration that they give to defenders that if it deflects off another part of your body and then in quick succession hits your arm, you're given grace there. And so because
the deflection wouldn't have made a difference.
The deflection was before the shot.
It was at the same time.
It was about the same time.
Okay,
exactly.
sure.
I agree with Joel. I don't disagree with you. But if I'm going to make a logical argument for why it's not given, other than the fact that it's a makeup call for not giving the first penalty, which is what I really think happened, is that they didn't want to give Newcastle a penalty after not giving Arsenal a penalty. I think that the logical argument that they're going to try and make is that because it deflected off of his foot and then hit his arm in such a quick succession, and that the arm is in a quote unquote natural position because he's going to ground, that's why it's not given.
I tell you what though, if you flip it around and Arsenal didn't get that decision and then Newcastle went and scored a late winner, like if Arsenal should have got the penalty but Newcastle got, I think Arteta and Arsenal in general at the end you wouldn't hear the end of it. And
Absolutely.
I think, rightly so.
Absolutely.
I mean, it was a stonewall. It was an absolute penalty.
Yes.
I don't get it. I think it's one of the worst VAR things I've seen.
I think it was absolutely a penalty, and I also think that the only reason it wasn't given was because the Gyökeres penalty wasn't given in the first half. I think it was 100% a makeup call in their opinion, and
if you're right, that's shocking.
That's a terrible thing that they do.
That's the logic there is just wrong and off. Like
Yes.
just because we may have made a mistake here doesn't mean you go screw that team over just to make up. Like,
I agree with you.
You stick to the
Yeah.
I think it was a shocker.
I think it was a terrible call. I think that they got the Voltamata goal perfect. I think Gabriel goes down way too easily.
That was
now. If I could contrast that to a goal scored at St. James's Park with a push 3 years ago,
they're not even.
They're not even close. They're not even close. I agree with you. I'm definitely agreeing with you that they're not even close because Joel Linton shoved Gabriel 3 seasons ago.
If you're comparing though, like
Yes.
Joel Linton compared to the Voltamata
Yes.
one is like a
Night and day.
Voltamata barely touched it.
Dive.
Exactly. Now,
Both were dives.
you're wrong, Brad. One was a dive, one was a push. I think that this has to just be the way that they're being coached. That if you feel a hand on your back, go down. Because they assume that VAR is going to give them the benefit of the doubt. And that in slow motion, it's going to look worse. I have to believe that's how they're being coached. And he's too good of a defender to be doing that, in my opinion. Like, he doesn't need to be doing that. Just be stronger. You're huge. You're a huge man. Win the ball. Right?
I think they overshadowed the game. Just to summarize, I do think Arsenal were the better team. And if you take away the controversy of the decisions and the timing of the goals, Arsenal probably deserved to win. I think just the way it happened was unfortunate. I think not just for Newcastle. I think it was unfortunate for the game. I think it was just
I agree with
bad
you.
way for it to go.
I agree almost exactly with you. Is that if I also think that if the game is vastly different if Arsenal don't concede first, right? Because Arsenal were in firm control of the game until the penalty decision went against them, and then the whole atmosphere changed, the energy changed, and Arsenal were put off for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then Newcastle scored, right? Yeah. And so I think if Arsenal, now Nick Pope might have saved the penalty, who knows? And maybe the same thing happens and the energy changes. But if Arsenal get the first goal, I think that they go on to score. Because, Eze had 2 or 3 great chances that Nick Pope had to save. Like we're not even thinking, and that's the shame of this, is that we've spent 25 minutes talking about BS things, like silly things that we would rather not talk about, and we haven't once mentioned. The great like attacking play that Arsenal put on in the first 15 minutes. Like Arsenal were very dominant in the first 15 minutes of that game until the penalty decision goes against them. And so it's like we've been getting slagged off for the last 6 weeks that we're not attacking enough, that we're not going for it enough. And then Arteta puts a team out there that I think was definitely in control at St. James Park for the first 10, 15, 20 minutes. And because of, I think, a pair of really, really bad VAR calls. Now, my brother wanted me to ask you, Joel, do you feel like Nick Pope was fouled on the Gabriel goal by William Saliba? No? Okay. Because Saliba does kind of box him out a little bit.
I think Pope was just he made a bad decision going for it. He should have been aware of where Saliba was.
Okay.
And if he stays on his line, he probably saves it.
Yeah, definitely a possibility because he does flap at it and he doesn't get anywhere near it and the goal is wide. So, yeah. Okay.
No, I don't think it was bad.
Brad.
Yes.
Quickly, or take as much time as you want, tell me why Enzo Maresca needs to be sacked. Right? Because I watched a couple YouTube videos this week that said that he's a loser.
Yeah, he is terrible coach. Should be canned.
And not that he's a bad person. He just has a losing mentality.
Yeah. Because we've lost 5 games in 6 months, and 4 of those games we played with 10 men. So he deserves to go. No, it's ridiculous. It's the stupidest argument that anybody's ever made, and the reaction from the Chelsea fan base are the absolute worst. And to be fair, yesterday when you're watching this video from yesterday, Chelsea won with 10 men, so he has broken that jinx too.
Okay,
now.
Timeout. In defense
Why
of
do
the
you
people
keep playing with 10 men? Let's start there.
That's a better question.
I don't know. Ghost fouls.
Do you guys remember all of the mountain of BS that Mikel Arteta took in the first 2 years based off of all the red cards that Arsenal used to get?
Punishment for the Fulham goal being disavowed. It's what this is, because they again, VAR said a stomp is a foul. The past 2 games, there's been stomps in the box. João Pedro got stomped on by Manchester United, like body blocked, taken down in the box against Manchester United. No penalty. Against Brighton, Reece James gets stomped on, ran through, no penalty.
I have a question for you.
So,
are the stomps part of a 360 pirouette? I forget what they're called. The Cruyff turn or something like.
One was a football move, like a juke that was happening.
That's the only time
that matters, right?
Well, that's the only time that it's disallowed when you stomp on somebody. When you're when you're spinning a defender and then you stomp on them in the midst of your 360 spin on them. That's when the foul occurs.
You're right. I
Did
forgot.
Did you miss that memo?
Well, you're consistent. Yeah. Wow, I guess they are consistent. I guess I have no complaints here. No, I think it's silly. I mean, the injuries are piling up. CWC is like, we are feeling that pain now.
We're feeling that pain too.
Yeah.
Madueke. Yeah.
I said, Madueke. Cole Palmer's out. Like, a lot of people are out until after the international break.
Rodri has intense knee pain in the same knee, according to Pep Guardiola. Like, he played a little bit in the Club World Cup.
The CWC is going to be it's going to do lots of harm, but we'll get through it. We'll keep playing. And then we win in the chip once we get a goal in January. Comeback is on.
I know we're running long, but just one quick comment on the Tottenham game. We stink, but also I was saying that we were basically a Rodri away from actually being pretty decent, and Paulinho is amazing.
He's a good player.
He is awesome.
He's a good player.
He was great for Fulham. I didn't. Well, we don't collectively. We don't watch a lot of Bundesliga, so didn't watch him a ton at Bayern. But if Bayern want a player, he's probably a pretty decent player for most times. You know, you could pretty much count on that. But yeah, like Paulinho, he's had 2 worldy winners the last couple of games. So,
Yeah.
and that's like in Rodri's style of like just coming into the box late and just, I'm just gonna slot this right past the keeper, or a bicycle a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, with that same logic, you guys should totally be putting in 100 mil bids for Nico Jackson now that he's played for Bayern. He's a
I think
great
there's
player. You guys definitely should.
I think there's a different striker we'd pretty much rather have from Bayern.
Word on the street is that
the old guy?
some agents are talking to some clubs about facilitating a move. But I heard a rumor this week.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it might be Muller. I think there's another. No, Muller's rolling around in the MLS somewhere, isn't he? I think I just saw him score a hat trick. For was it?
Vancouver, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Okay, so he didn't come to the United States. He was like, screw the. I want to play in the MLS, but I don't want to live in the United States.
He's taking the Giovinco route and playing in Canada because Giovinco left Juventus 10 years ago and went to Toronto.
Yeah, I thought I saw Muller rolling around in the MLS scoring a hat trick.
Can we spare a quick thought for Sunderland? They've picked up 11 points, right?
Joel, would you like to expound upon this?
Good. They've done well. They've had the kindest of starts in their fixture list, though, I will say.
That's true.
Well, you can only play what's in front of you, so fair play.
They'll play everybody twice.
Would you agree with my estimation of your thoughts of I did want the rivalry back, but also F off because you're in my spot. Like they're in your Champions League spot.
If Sunderland is still there this time in 2-3 months, then we'll talk again. But I can't see them. I can't see Newcastle.
Hey, but I'm sure if you're Sunderland and you're newly promoted, you'll take all the points you can get. The points you can get. I'll rack them up.
Well, we haven't looked at the tables yet because that's something that's Red Card Radio doesn't believe in. It doesn't exist. But if they've got 11 points now and Wolves only have 1 point, they're doing a good job of putting some distance between themselves and 20th.
They are 1/3 from safety.
Yeah,
as we typically say, you get to 30.
It's
you get to 30, you're pretty much good. If you get to 40, you are absolutely safe.
Yeah. So I think this relegation battle could be exceedingly interesting because the Fighting Granite Xhakas will certainly not let Sunderland go down. I think that's where we leave it. Get in the comments. Let us know because we inevitably, whenever Joel's on the podcast, we always get a ridiculous uptick in views. So maybe it's just the English accent. I don't know what it is. He adds a little credence and believability to this podcast, I guess. And so if you are one of those extra people that somehow YouTube gives this to, let us know in the comments what you think about this Newcastle Arsenal match. If you think I'm an idiot, let me know. If you think Joel is spot on, let him know. And we'd really appreciate it. Hit us up on social media. Up top is at KSBradG. Down below is at Whiteheart_Sean. Joel is at JoelFindley16, though I'm not sure you use it a lot, but you can check him there. Yeah. I'm at James Tiffany. Collectively, we can be reached at redcard_radio. And we will be back on Friday with a preview. And also, Joel will be joining us then for a preview of round 7. So you'll want to stick around to see that. So hit that subscribe button and ring the sub notification bell to be alerted. And until then, we hope you enjoy some midweek European football, and we will see you guys next time.